What's going on, everybody? Happy holidays from here
Hello.
in Michigan.
That's right.
That is right.
From Michigan, where there's no snow.
You know, when I planned on doing this show, I figured we'd have winter or something that looked like winter.
Right.
So basically, I'm looking through my photos here that I'm going to share tonight, and I think every single one of them was shot at the very beginning of this year when we actually had snow.
Really?
Yeah. Or maybe, no, there's a couple of them. Well, I don't know. I think one of them might have been from last year, but it would have, yeah. It's just ridiculous. So anyways, you guys, I think we can talk about. So I gave Jerry the ability to control stuff.
Yo, I was wondering, I'm like, where's the chat? I don't see it. I was like, yo, this is all different now. So I'm clicking.
Yeah. So Jerry now has access to the control board too. So there might be random stuff that pops up every now and then.
If we get disconnected, just hold tight. We'll be back.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I think we'll just talk a little bit about wintertime photography. Hey, we got Rick on the show tonight. What's up, Mr. Kefjan? Yeah, so just I think basically just our take on winter photography, like how we prep for it, how we manage out there, equipment, how we maintain equipment, things like that. And then the things we look for to shoot too, because I think for me, I am drawn to different things in the winter a little bit more, or at least approach them differently, I guess. Maybe approach them more cautiously because it's winter. But so, yeah, we'll talk about that tonight. I'm going to talk about my saga with my storage and backup solution and where I'm at with that. I'm going through a bit of a conundrum right now. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about how I'm taking care of that problem and just some things that you can do on your end, maybe to avoid these types of situations or be prepared for them. And I know I'm being really vague about it, but we'll go into that. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, this just sounds like a mystery, I guess. Right. So what's new, Jerry? I see you've been continuously traveling again. I know, right? You're the new Mike.
I do. You know what? We joked about that in the beginning, and I have turned into Mike.
You have. I've always been the one on the show that was always like at home, and the other person was always the one traveling, and it continues to be that way.
Right. Yeah, I didn't expect to be doing this much traveling, and I try to schedule it around the show, but sometimes I just can't get out of it. And last week, the last time we were supposed to do the show, I had it scheduled where I would be home Thursday.
Yep.
And then they had to change it, so then I didn't get home till Friday. So.
Yeah, that's the tough part about being a photographer as a hobby and not making a complete living from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got all the responsibilities. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. But I guess you've got a little bit of time off over the holidays, it sounds like.
I have. Yeah, I've been off since last Friday. Well, last Saturday.
Nice.
So yeah, I go back to 3rd.
Nice. Yeah, good time to get in some photos. Maybe we'll see.
Yep, I've already been out a couple times.
So I guess we'll just jump right into talking about the wintertime photography, because here in Michigan, usually we have winters that involve snow and ice and things like that. This winter's kind of mild so far. We've had a little bit of snow here and there, a little bit of ice, but not typical. But then again, we're not even into January yet. So we've got January, February, and March, really.
Yeah, usually February is when you're going to see the most of it.
Right, for sure. So Jason 45G, I'm going to assume this is my buddy from the east side of the state who's going to come over and pay me a visit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Somebody's picking up a 25 millimeter f1.2 tomorrow.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's a killer portrait lens. You'll like that.
I like that lens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a banger for sure. You'll enjoy it. But so yeah, let's just jump into talking a little bit about photography out in the snow, and I think you'll have probably a little bit of different stuff or advice because you live on the west side of the state. You guys get way more snow, and
I don't know if it gets colder, but it sure feels like we got a lot more ice over here. Probably would be my guess.
Yeah, definitely. So let's lead off with that. Let's talk about when we're photographing on the lakeshore and some of the things that we do to prepare for that, like equipment wise for us, for our bodies.
Right.
Like what are some things that you recommend that people that are must-have items if they're going to be out adventuring in the snow?
So one of the things I recommend is save your money, buy good gear.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, and I'm not trying to sound bougie and shit and say, yo, bashing shit from Walmart and stuff like that, but that's not going to keep you warm. You know what I mean? I bought that stuff year after year after year, and I can never get warm. And I spend hours on the ice.
Yep.
I'll go out there and I lay down in the ice and out on the pier. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I learned over the years, save the money, buy you some nice Merrell boots or Columbia, and get you a nice parka, some snow pants, long johns. I'm actually the one thing I'm good to go. Whenever I go out, I'm warm.
Yeah.
The only thing that still gets cold is my hands. I cannot find good gloves.
I'm there with you on that one.
So I just started researching, and I found some battery operated gloves on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one thing that I haven't looked at, and which I don't know why. In years, I had when I was 14, I went hunting a couple years, and my uncle bought me some battery operated socks, and things took a 9-volt battery, and they didn't work very good. So the other day I was like, you know what, I need to get on Amazon and look and see what options they have now. Yeah. Technology has changed drastically since then.
It sure has.
So I found that they range anywhere from $15 to $200 for a pair of socks.
Holy cow! Yeah.
So and then gloves are the same way. So I'm definitely gonna order some. I got good boots, but it wouldn't hurt to have some extra little warmth in there. So I'm gonna grab a pair of battery operated socks, and I'm just gonna grab some $20 ones.
Yep. See how they work out.
Yeah, I saw a video where the dude had the heat gun, the infrared gun.
Oh yeah, like a FLIR.
Yeah, and he just socks off. His foot read something like 90 degrees or something like that. And then once he put the socks on, it went up to like 130.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so at least they get you a little more warmth. So
it's like bath water warmer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's worth trying. And then the other, like I said, the only other thing is some good gloves.
Yeah. So that's something Leandro is interested in us keeping everybody updated on, as far as what we come up with for gloves.
Right.
So and
the number one thing, ice cleats.
Yeah, for
Gotta
sure.
have them cleats.
Yeah, if you're going to be anywhere where, if it's more than just snow, like especially when you're out on the piers or the lake shore, or sometimes hell, I mean, I've been in urban situations in town where it's slick, so it wouldn't be bad to have some cleats for sure.
Cleats are a must.
So to address Leandro's question about gloves or keeping everybody updated on it, I've gone through a couple of different glove options and none of them have worked out. So I've got a pair of the latest ones I bought were, I think, ProMaster is the brand. It's a photography brand.
Yeah, I saw those.
And they're probably good if it's like 50 degrees or 40 degrees maybe. But once you start getting down into the 30s and, below freezing, there's another brand called Valorette, which I think Mark Miller has a pair of those. And Mark has, he's super sensitive to cold in his, fingers and toes and stuff like that. So if he says that they keep his hands warm, I'm going to believe him more than an advertisement. And it seems like he really liked those gloves quite a bit. And I think they make a few different options. But just, I started snowboarding in the late 80s. And so I've always been kind of, in the loop to a degree on, warm weather or, cold weather clothes. But snowboarding gloves are a lot different than what you need for photography. You need to be able to access buttons and dials, and snowboarding gloves don't ever afford that. But I'm noticing there are companies that make similar to what you'd find in snowboarding. You'd have a thinner glove that's your liner and then wear a pair of mitts over those. And then I've seen these gloves that have the mitt and the whole part of the mitt that's over your, your hands folds back and magnets in place. So then you have individual fingers that just have that thin glove liner on them. And then the same with the thumb. So you just pull the fingers out that you need for when you're working and then just close everything back up when you're hiking and stuff like that. So I've got a brand. I just got to dig it out of my search history, and I can shoot that over to Leandro and everybody else. I'll put it like in the show notes or whatever for the podcast. But mitts are a big thing as far as keeping your hands warm. Just because you keep your fingers together, they generate a lot more heat that way. And then, it's like you said, so don't buy cheap, but I know not everybody has the budget to go spend a fortune either. So
here's a suggestion, if I may.
Yeah.
Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah. Even online, Burlington online. Or I was going to suggest Poshmark is where, so prepping for this trip to Iceland, which is finally going to happen with my kids. I was looking on Poshmark for boots for my kids, and I'm finding, Maryland Columbia boots that look basically brand new, or sometimes they are brand new. They were bought and then never used or whatever, but you can get them for a steal on Poshmark as well. So, looking there is definitely a good place. But Jerry's right. You don't want to skimp. Jerry mentioned a parka. I've had a lot of luck with these puffer jackets lately. So I've got one from Maryland. I've got another one from Helly Hansen, and I'm amazed. I'm constantly amazed at how warm those things keep me for being so light. So, and I have a lot of high regard for the brand Helly Hansen. I've had a couple of pairs of their pants and a couple of their jackets, and I think that they may have been designed for like fishermen that fish in the ocean. I'm not completely certain on that. You might want to look that up, but it's super good cold weather gear. But again, just look on Poshmark, or like Jerry said, Burlington Coat Factory. They do have an online version of their store, and they have all kinds of stuff on there. Good brands for cheap. So for sure, look at that. And you mentioned like snow pants. And I've got a photo to share. Hell, I'll just share it right now. Just to highlight what you're talking about as far as needing snow pants. So that's Jerry. You can see he's got the cleats on that he's mentioning.
Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I'm back. My mic disconnected.
So you can see in the picture Jerry's cleats, but you can also see the pier is solid ice, and he's on his knees. So when you're looking for snow pants, you don't want something that's just going to keep you warm, but you also want something, again, look at snowboarding gear, stuff that has like padding in the knees and on the butt, because it's nice to be able to just sit down and take a break every once in a while. You know what I mean? When you're out shooting. So having stuff that keeps you warm is great, but if you're going to be changing your position to get shots, or if you want to rest when you're out, having those padded knees and butt pads come in really handy as well.
The snow pants I currently have are pretty much toast, so I got to pick up some new ones. And I had the old, my snow pants were Walmart snow pants.
Yep.
And they were a little baggy, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? There was a lot more snow pants than it really needed to be there.
Sure. Yep.
So like you just said, I'm going to look into some snowboarding pants this time, and
yep,
something with a smaller profile. And
yep, for sure.
Yeah.
But you might struggle a little bit with that with snowboarding pants, maybe, because I don't know if currently the trend is still super oversized pants or not, but it kind of fluctuates and comes and goes.
I've seen some that look a lot more like jeans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And then, I guess we'll start with the inside and work our way out. Something we didn't touch on either is, number one, you want a layer. And picking out a good base layer, I think, is super critical in all of this as well. I mean, if you just threw on the snow pants, obviously with nothing underneath them, you're going to freeze to death. Right. So you want to have, a layer underneath it. Definitely to kind of, you build up from there. And I'll just start at the feet and work out, as far as socks go, budget if you can for merino wool. You're going to spend a lot more on the socks, but they're super comfortable. They're not, most people think of wool, they think of scratchy, but merino wool is not hard and scratchy. And one of the benefits or bonuses of wool is that if by some chance your feet get wet, they're not going to get cold if you're wearing wool. It's like an amazing material, and it's funny because it's natural. It's not anything man-made, and it's so effective at at keeping you warm even if you get wet. So it's a super insulator. And again, it's my go-to base layer for my feet is wool. And then as far as the base layer for the rest of you, I mean, Under Armour makes great cold weather base layer gear, or start looking at ski and snowboard base layers. You can find that stuff for not outrageous prices, but you certainly want to layer up that way. And that photo that I shared of Jerry earlier, he's got that heavy parka on, but underneath that he was wearing a hoodie, and then underneath the hoodie I'm sure there's a t-shirt, and then he's got a knit hat on and the hood pulled up on the hoodie as well. So I mean, all those layers are really what make the difference, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so I agree. Wool socks. I buy some socks. I think they're called cabin socks, but they're wool.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I mean, the rest of my gear is pretty inexpensive. It's long underwear.
Yep.
Pants and shirt, long sleeve shirt. And then I'll do sweatpants. So I'll do long underwear, sweatpants.
Yep.
And then snow pants. Yep. I used to do jeans, but that gets a little uncomfortable under the snow pants.
Yeah, for sure.
So I went to long underwear, sweatpants, and then my snow pants.
Nice.
And then I'll do a long underwear shirt, a sweatshirt, typically a hoodie.
Yep.
And then my parka, the one you in the picture.
Yep.
And that there too, that is another Burlington find.
Nice.
I found that jacket at Burlington for $80. And when I got it home, I looked it up. It's a $500 jacket.
Nice. It's a good catch.
Dude, that thing, you sweat and that thing is so heavy. That's the downside to it. It's heavy.
Yeah.
But you don't get cold. So, I mean, you got to,
there's a balance for sure.
Cold or yeah, for sure.
Yep. So Goodson Imagery, I can't even talk tonight. Good Lord. Goodson Imagery on the topic of gloves. Red 35 recommended Koof gloves. Says they seem pricey, but the fold over gloves say they're rated for 4 below Fahrenheit.
Nice.
So I think I'll have to look into that as well. I don't venture out as much in the winter to shoot like I have in years past, or at least I haven't this year. But then again, we haven't really had a great winter to do it. But gloves are, I think, the last hurdle for me as far as keeping warm.
I ended up getting a pair from Burlington again. That's where I go for all my winter gear.
Yeah.
And they were probably the warmest gloves I ever had. They were crappy looking. They looked like they were made out of garbage bags. They weren't big and bulky, but they were warm. They were big.
Yeah, you could work
noisy.
Noisy.
They were warm. And I lost them a week after I bought them. I was kind of disappointed because they actually, I mean, you can't shoot with them on. You got to take it off. But
yeah,
in the meantime, they kept my hands warm. But whatever.
So here, another thing. I'm just gonna bring picture back up again. So another thing too, and you'll notice. So Jerry's jacket or his coat. Look at the color. My coat. Look at the color. It's not because I'm copying Jerry for style points or anything like that. But something Jerry said to me one time a while ago when we were out just really resonated. Jerry goes out by himself and shoots a lot in these conditions. It's dangerous, people. I mean, if you've spent any time on the Great Lakes, you know that they can be pretty wicked. You get out there in the wintertime when the waves are crashing and everything is covered in 4 or 5 inches of ice. It's deadly. But Jerry chose orange because if by chance he slips in or something, he's at least visible, because generally when you're out here, there's other people hanging around, you know what I mean? And if somebody looks out there and sees him taking pictures and a few seconds later he's gone and they see something orange in the water, is far more likely to get some sort of help, And again, when we travel in groups and do this as well, it's easy to spot one another. So it's as much for safety as it is for looking cool in photos too,
Right. I would much rather wear all white, but yeah, that ain't gonna happen in the winter.
Right. And I had never honestly thought about it. And Jerry mentioned that, and I thought, damn, that's smart. It's such a good idea. It's like hunter's orange, except for photographers, so you don't die in all of this stuff. Because, like I said,
we'll claim it. Photographer's orange. We'll claim it.
Right? Yeah.
Can we put an NFT on that? Can we make that?
Oh my God! Yeah, we're gonna talk about NFTs now. No, we were talking about that before the show, just how crazy the whole NFT thing is getting and the uses for them and stuff like that. Maybe that'll be a topic for a show down the road. If you guys are interested in that, make sure to hit us up and let us know you're interested in our thoughts on NFTs and where they're going to play a role in photography. It'd be something interesting to talk about as it develops. So let's jump in, dude. Let's share some photos. Let's see what you got. I'll let you go first.
Oh man, you're gonna make me go first? All right, I'll go. All right.
No, I can go first. Don't matter.
No, I'll go. I want to.
Just being polite, ladies first.
So this is all new to me, so give me a second. Mm-hmm. We want to share screen.
Just don't hit the big red button that says end broadcast.
Right.
Now we're cooking.
Are we good?
Oh yeah.
All right. So I'm sharing this image just to show the amount of ice that generates along the lake. This is the North Pier in Muskegon. You know, the smaller one.
Yep.
And you can just see the amount of ice. I mean, look at the ground. It's like an ice skating rink out there.
Looks thick too.
This is so fun, man. If it's gonna snow, I want it to be like this all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just an image of tons of ice. This is Betsy. I don't. Were you there with me that day? I think you were.
Yeah, I think I might have been on that one.
I think we went up there. This shot from down the beach, Point Betsy. This is if you shoot Lakeshore over here in Michigan, then this is usually the place everybody wants to go. It's changed a little bit over the last couple years. We've lost a lot of that shrub is gone. If you can see, if you see the trees and you look right below them and you can see all that, it looks like mounds of snow. That's just bush. It was just bushes and stuff like that, and it gets covered with ice from the overspray from the lake. But all that shrubbery is gone now, so that's kind of disappointing. I think even half of those trees are gone now.
Yeah. Nice.
I was out there a couple weeks ago, so that's a little disappointing because this place was always cool to go in the winter. Point Betsy. So if you can get up there.
Yeah, I've only been there once in the winter, and that was that one time we went up.
Yep. This is Muskegon. It's a shot where I was laying down on the ground. And, I just went through and I cleaned up tons of photos. And I had a really cool picture that I took this same day. You know how those ice balls form in the lake?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, they got splashed up onto the to the ice. And then they got coated, so they looked like shiny white balls.
That's crazy.
And, it was pretty cool looking, but I can't find that picture now. I don't know where.
Did you, with this photo, did you do any cropping? Because if you did, you perfectly left in just barely that seagull at the top right. Did you notice that in the photo? There's a tiny seagull way up there at the very, very edge of the frame. It's cool.
I don't know. You know what? I'm not sure if I did or not. I don't think so, but I might have. I don't know. I probably did. I usually crop to make sure that my frame's filled properly, or what I consider properly. Here's a drone shot. I thought this was kind of cool.
Yeah,
all the pancake ice was in the little channel, I guess you could call it. I don't know, what do you call that?
It's like it's like a bay
breakwater,
right
or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite side there was none. So I thought this was pretty cool.
It'll make me want to get my drone out again.
All right. Then here's just another shot just to show pancake ice from.
That's cool.
A little bit of closer perspective, but like this stuff just builds and builds, and
it's cool. A lot of people don't get to see something like this, that the lake goes through stages.
This could literally go from none of this to this in 2 hours.
That's crazy.
It's crazy how quick this stuff builds up and disappears.
It's so sick.
I took a few years ago in Grand Haven. It's a long exposure shot, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. There was some little ice chunks in the foreground. I took another one, but I kind of didn't like where I focused in the photo, where people stacked those. You know how they stack the rocks on the beach?
Oh, they were doing it with ice.
They did it with the ice, and the shot's pretty cool. But I should have opened the aperture up a little more and got more in focus. So, I kind of don't share that photo. This is Manistee. and this was 3 years ago, 2019, I believe.
Oh, damn, you're up
18,
on the catwalk.
18. Yes, the ice piled up high enough that, and so granted, this catwalk is about the same height as the one in Grand Haven.
So like what, 6-7 foot up in the air?
It might be a little higher. But the ice piled up high enough that I was able to climb up on the catwalk and walk down it.
Oh, that's so crazy.
It was a little sketchy because I mean, you could there's no floor. It's just ice.
Yeah.
So you kind of, certain areas you got to put your feet above the rails and stuff like that. But we were able to walk all the way to the lighthouse. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And then you were there for this day.
I have the shot of you when you're taking that shot. I don't have it on tonight, but
yeah, this was Grand Haven.
That was a brutal day out there.
Brutal, windy, and cold.
Yeah.
And this is just one of those shots where I racked it all the way out to 200 millimeters, I believe, or 300 millimeters, I think, and just pulled everything in.
Yeah, those days are intense when it's like that.
Oh yeah. And then this is from a while ago. This was one of the first years I started shooting landscape. Grand Haven Lighthouse is just completely covered in ice.
I love how when it does that and you're at this perspective, it looks like a ship.
Right.
It's so cool.
So I do got another shot of this. I think it might have been earlier that winter where just the red light on the top is showing.
Oh, wow.
But I think there was a lot more ice built up on this one. So that's why I shared this one. And then this is from the first year I started shooting landscape. And this is a shot in Muskegon where I just did a log exposure. And you can tell I'm a rookie here because this shit's overexposed. I mean, you can see there's no detail in that sunlight. But you learn. And so this was one of my first long exposure winter shots.
Yep. I think most people would be happy with that if they did it.
Oh, right. Oh, I was pumped when I took this. I thought I was the man, dude. But yeah. And I look back at it now and I'm like, yeah, I could have probably did things a lot different, but I still like it. And that is it for me, man.
Yeah, you know what? I really want to go out and do some long exposure on the lakeshore in the wintertime. I've only ever done it once. And that shot that you have in Grand Haven with the ice right on the water's edge, and there's a little bit of like, you could tell the sun was out for at least a few seconds during all of that because there's like this little ripple of light in the sand where the water was pulling away. It's freaking cool. Makes me want to get out and do that. Big time.
Well, if we ever get snow.
Yeah, right. Good Lord. All right, so let's see here. We'll get this one going. All righty. So I think this was a trip with you, honestly. And I think this was in Muskegon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But it was one of those things, again, I noticed it in your photo in Grand Haven, that little bit of light. That's the thing here in Michigan, too, is, man, once we hit like November, like halfway through November, all the way until March, it feels like sunshine is rare. So when we were out shooting that day, there were just, periodic breaks and there was sunlight for just a few seconds. So I was all over trying to work sunlight into my photo, but I had just noticed how you could see the buildup of ice. I mean, like you said, this could have happened over the course of an afternoon, or it could have taken a week to happen. Who knows? But I love that I could see all those little layers occurring in that ice. And then just, again, trying to work in some sunlight into this just to give it a little bit of highlight and contrast. The next one. So this is Point Betsy, and this was that day that I was there with you. And Jerry's right. Like, this is the place that you want to go any time of year for photos along the Lake Michigan shoreline for a couple of reasons. But the watercolor there is just ridiculous. And of course, I'm doing a screen share, so it doesn't really pop quite as much on a screen share, but it is just the most insane greenish blue color at Point Betsy. It's just a sight to behold. But I've always kind of wanted to experiment around with like water splashes and things like that. I've seen so many photos from so many people that are great capturing these moments. And usually when I get to the lakeshore, I'm all about long exposure and just making things like this disappear, but just trying to get outside of what I normally do and start doing faster shutter speed. So I started playing around with catching these waves hitting the breakwater there, the seawall. And I just liked this one because it felt like, to me, it looks like two people dancing together or something. And again, we at least had a little bit of color in the sky. So it was kind of fun to play around with that, again, outside of what would be my normal comfort zone. And I think these last couple of shots were shot with the Sony A7 III and a Tamron lens of some sort, probably the 28-75. The next one, so this is on the opposite side of the lighthouse at Point Betsy from where Jerry shared that one photo. And you can see on this side, those bushes are there and it's, super grown up. And of course they get hammered with, spray from the waves crashing and ice builds up on them. But what's cool is the ice gets this really wild blue look to it. And it was fun just kind of trudging around over the other side of that, if not a little freaky, because I noticed in a couple of spots where I was walking that I'm actually like probably 3 foot off the ground, suspended in the air by all these bushes that have ice on them. But I sat back here, and this was shot with the Sony A7 III, but I put on this old Russian fisheye lens that I got from my girlfriend and just played around with that and shot this shot back there. Really tricky lighting on that day. We didn't have the greatest light, which is, I guess, typical in Michigan in the wintertime.
Right.
Another shot from Grand Haven. So this was this year. I remember that this was from this year, and this was at probably like in January, I think maybe February. But one of those days where we were lucky enough to get out there and have, decent sized waves breaking at the end of the pier. And again, just not wanting to venture too far out there. I had, crampons or cleats on my boots, but when the water's turning like this and it was washing up over the pier a fair amount, I just decided it'd be best to stay at the, the beginning of the pier and just crank it out there, with a telephoto. So this was shot with the Sony A7 III and the Tamron 70 to 180. And of course, all the way out at 80 millimeters to get this shot. And then just playing around with compositions, trying to stay low to keep that, out of focus, like long foreground in it to try to add some depth to it. And there's nothing like going to the lighthouse in Grand Haven or Muskegon, those red lighthouses when you've got these dark gray overcast skies, the lighthouses really pop. They stand out against that background. The next one is Jerry's stomping ground. So this was the same day that I took that very first photo I shared out on the pier there in Muskegon. Again, I think it was the same day as that last Grand Haven photo as well, so we had some decent amount of chop and waves going on, but I just liked watching all these seagulls. I don't understand how they or why they hang out in the water when it's like that crazy cold, when they could be like, I don't know, at a fast food restaurant parking lot eating French fries. I don't know what the deal is, but
or in Florida,
right? They have wings. What the hell are they staying here for? They could go anywhere. But like I said, again, just the contrast to that red against the sky, man, it just draws me in, especially when you've got the white from the snow and ice on the lighthouses as well. It's so fun to do.
Yep, I enjoy it.
I don't enjoy this. I think the people that do this are insane. So that's one of the things you'll see on the coast here in Michigan or even in the Upper Peninsula in the wintertime. People wearing dry suits out surfing when the waves get big and there's not ice, when it's not iced in all the way yet. These guys will be out here, and girls will be out here surfing in these conditions, and
no gloves,
nothing
on their feet.
Nope, crazy. It's insane.
That is bananas.
Yeah, I have another word for it, but
out there in that. And I'm crying because I don't got $200 battery operated socks.
Right. Yeah, these guys are probably wearing like $600 dry suits or something or more, but
how do your feet not get cold, man?
You probably just don't feel them after a second, would be my guess.
I'm sure.
But I don't shoot people often when I'm out like doing landscape and things like this, but I couldn't pass up this opportunity because we were shooting the lighthouse and I had seen surfers out there and a couple of them had come in, and then I'm just sitting there just kind of shooting the pier, the typical stuff that I would shoot there. And then I see this head kind of come up over the edge of the snow here. And what you can't tell from, this vantage point is that the water is probably like 5 or 6 feet down from where he is sitting. So he had to climb up while he's getting hit with waves, to get up to this point to sit. And I think he was sitting there, if I remember right, watching another of his friends as looks like they were wrapping it up for the day or whatever. But just a cool, I don't know what you call it, an environmental portrait. I'm not sure what you call this, but I had a lot of fun shooting it and just watching these people out there.
If I wouldn't have seen you taking that shot, I would have took it.
Yeah.
That's a dope shot.
Thanks. I appreciate that. It's not in my normal comfort zone, but man.
Right. I saw you pull up to take it and I was like, fuck. I was gonna get that.
So, again, that's the shot I shared earlier of Jerry. And I think this is in Muskegon, right?
Yep.
It looks like it.
Yep.
So we're out at the pier in Muskegon. Again, just a really good example of how to dress and prepare for this. If you look at Jerry's feet, you can see the type of cleats or crampons that he's wearing, and I had some other ones that weren't nowhere near as aggressive as this. And after going out with Jerry, and I wore mine and Jerry had his, and then I got home. I don't even think I left the parking lot when we were up. We were further north. I'm trying to remember where we went that time. Frankfurt. We were in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And Jerry was just like a mountain goat climbing over all this ice. And I'm trying to be super careful because my cleats weren't aggressive enough. And we got back to the car after that, and I was on Amazon and ordered some right then. They're not super expensive.
No, they were $20.
Yep, let's say $15 to $25.
You can run on the ice with those. You're not going down.
Yeah, they're aggressive. Just don't wear them in your car or something like that. You'll tear the carpet out.
Right.
And then, and this is just a shot of me. I think maybe Mark Miller shot this, but you can see. No, actually, I'm wearing the same style of crampons you are. So it must have been another trip where I saw yours and ended up getting mine.
Oh, you know what that was? Weren't those the ones that had the springy things on them?
Yeah. Yep.
It didn't have the teeth.
Yep. But now these ones right here are like what you've got. They've got like
those
steel spikes. They look like some sort of ninja weapon or something on them. But yeah. So again, this kind of will show you again what these conditions are like out there. So it looks just like this mound of snow, but what you've got to understand is that, below where I'm sitting, probably about 4 feet is where the actual pier is. And what's dangerous about
maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. I could be standing right over water at this point. You never know. And the thing is too, is, lots of times these waves will come like underneath the ice and like, splash upwards. They can make like a hollow cavity.
I want to share an image.
Yeah.
On what you're speaking on right now.
Like, do you have a picture of like an ice volcano?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I'm going to share this real quick.
So Jerry's going to give you an example of
this right here is kind of what keeps me from getting too crazy anymore.
Good share right there. Yes.
So as you can see, Jamie was laying on the ice.
Yep.
Can you see my cursor?
You sure can.
He could have been laying right here.
Yep.
And you don't know that. Yep. And if you go through,
you're done.
Depending on how high that mound is, you have that height that you need to surpass to get out of the hole. And typically, if it's 5, 6, 7 feet, you're not getting out. You'll drown.
Yeah. Well, hell, if you get down in there and the waves are kind of washing in and out, you could get pulled from that pocket up underneath the shelf and trapped.
Yep. So if you're out there climbing around on the ice, be careful. Make sure it's solid.
Yeah.
I go out on the ice. I'll walk out on the lake and stuff like that now when I know it's been in single digits for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Before I start going out there playing around on the ice.
Yeah, and I know, I spoke earlier that you'll go out alone, and you're wearing orange because of some of the dangers, but, I'm certain it probably almost goes without saying you don't take like crazy unnecessary risks like out there, probably, right?
No, especially when I'm by myself.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, when I'm with a group of people, I mean, we get a little more adventurous, but
right.
So the first year I bought my camera, I went out to Grand Haven, and it was
Yeah.
during the blizzard. Go ahead, finish sharing your photos.
Oh no, go ahead.
And then, so if you remember, the old Grand Haven pier had a slant on it.
Yes.
And it was only maybe what, a 2-foot slant.
Yep.
But it was smooth. There was no steps or anything. So
I
I didn't see that.
Going.
It was covered.
Yeah.
And when my feet hit that thing, because it was all ice underneath the snow, I slipped and I fell and I hit my head on the cement.
Yeah.
And there was one guy out there fishing. But I laid there for a minute. You know, I tried to save my camera. My camera was only a couple days old.
Yeah.
So I tried to save my camera when I fell, and that's why I hit my head. And then I thought about that after that. I'm like, I could have knocked myself out and probably got washed right off the pier and been out in the lake. So
certainly.
That's when I bought cleats.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to have cleats.
So I'm trying to
just be careful out there.
I'm trying to dig back through and find this photo from, it was a time, actually, I think you were there. We might have had even Seth with us or something. I don't know. Or no, maybe maybe Rick Kefgen was there.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't think Seth ever left his house.
All right. So that's funny.
I'm just messing with you, man.
I ain't saying nothing. All right. So yeah, this is, let me share this one too. I'll just do a screen share of that browser window. So again, the ice volcanoes and all of that. So I don't know how well it shows in the screenshot, but you can see, or the screen share, but there are these chunks of ice. Those are, I don't know, probably 10, 12 inches long each. The water goes all the way out of the frame up here.
Right.
And look, I'm not even wearing cleats or nothing in this shot. This is like probably one of the first times I really went out adventuring on the piers, but the waves were crashing and hitting the ice right here. So, there's probably very high likelihood that there could be one of those pockets underneath there because of the way the wave action was. But the waves were
shot where you were just standing there and you took a few steps forward and then it collapsed?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That's exactly it. And that was, looking back on it, that was stupid. Just stupid.
I mean, we didn't know that was going to happen, though.
Yeah. And I mean, again, the waves, the water is spraying up 15, 20 feet. It could have been hollowed out underneath me. Ice is flying everywhere.
That goes to that graphic that I showed. I mean,
I wish
what that was. Yeah.
I was trying to find the photo. I don't remember who shot it. It might have been Rick Kefgen was near the shore. Somebody was far away and shot. They actually have that same photo, but taken from the shore. And you can see that wave or that spray.
I think that was Helmer.
Maybe it was Helmer. It's like 3 or 4 times higher than me. So it's like 20 feet up in the air. It's bananas. So learn from my, dumb mistakes and don't repeat those.
Mine too.
Those same things that I've done. But I've just only got a couple more to share here real quick. I'll knock those out. So it's not always, at least for me, about landscapes in the wintertime. And I know it's not for Jerry either, because I see a lot of his urban stuff too. He doesn't stop that at all year. But one of the things I like to do is swing up Jerry's way every winter because we get snowy owls that migrate down. It seems like I see them more and more on Facebook, like all over the place, not just here in Michigan, but other states like New Jersey and stuff as well. But we do have a pretty reliable location where you can find them every year. So this was one of those opportunities where I went out there and it was actually snowing pretty good. And it was kind of fun to shoot these guys in the snow before there was a snow covered ground, because man, once it gets completely covered out there, these guys are hard to find. So I just got this owl is just kind of doing a little scratch. They will sit in one spot for like 4 or 5 hours, until you're bored and leave. And that's probably about the time they take off and do something awesome. But I stay here and watch this one for probably an hour and a half freezing to death, just to get a couple of photos of it yawning and then scratching itself and then turning around, turning its back to me. It never flew, never did anything the whole time, but still kind of fun to see those guys.
Yeah, those things. And I'm not a wildlife photographer, but I really enjoy seeing the birds and the foxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're super cool. And then just these last couple are just going to be basic landscape photos. But there's something about these like really fiery sunsets and sunrises that we get in the wintertime. There's something different about them. And I don't know if it's because there's less humidity in the air or what it is.
Yeah.
But there's something about just how vibrant they get. Yep. So that's kind of what at least this shot and that previous one were. Just getting out in the cold, just keeping the muscle memory alive there, and shooting as often as you can. And again, I love when we get those snowfalls where it falls with zero wind and it just builds up and piles up on things. So I just I go to the places where I know I can get a shot. I call it, low hanging fruit, right, where I'm guaranteed to get an easy shot. And then I just pick those locations and wander around and try to figure out a way to work in the fact, that it is winter time. I could have gotten closer to the truck and made the truck fill the entire frame, or I could do what I did here and just get low,
show the environment and that.
Yep. Get that environment, get all that foreground covered in the fluffy snow. Got a couple of comments here. So Leandro says he was there last year and spoke with one of the guys coming out of the water shirtless, talking about the surfers. Shirtless. He took his gear off, chest was red as the lighthouse, and he said he couldn't feel anything.
I'm sure. Oh
my gosh.
People probably ended up in the hospital the next day.
Oh, it's nuts. I'm assuming this was a young guy, young and dumb and afraid of nothing at that point in their life. And then Rick said it was him that shot.
Oh, it was Rick?
That photo of me with the 300, with the Olympus 300. So like a 600 millimeter lens. Right. So Rick was really far away. He was playing it safe. He was a smart one out there. I think that was another one of those days we probably shouldn't have been out there, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get those shots.
Try to stay over the cement. That's all I do.
Yeah. Smart. So I guess I'm going to take a drink and then I'm going to talk about my hard drive situation.
What are you drinking?
Rum and Coke.
What kind of rum?
Papa's Pillar. It's good. It's almost like candy.
What is it? Is it white? Is it clear?
No, it's dark rum.
Dark. I like dark rum.
All right. So Jamie's dilemma. So part of my backup solution is I work off of a Drobo. So this is my whole system. My main storage area is a Drobo. It's got 5 bays and there's 5 6-terabyte drives in there. That's where everything lives. All my raw files I never delete. I don't delete anything. I have mad respect for those people who are smart enough to just say this stuff isn't anything I want and they delete it. I don't delete anything. I've got photos from 2007 to now on there. That's my main storage unit. That's where I work off of. All my edits go there. All the edited photos, they go in a special folder for each year. So I've got a folder for this year, 2021 edits. Anything that I put work into ends up going in there as a JPEG. That folder is backed up. Everything on there is backed up to Google Photos. It's also backed up to Amazon's web services. And then it goes to a Western Digital MyCloud. So edited photos are backed up. But everything I've shot lives on the Drobo. I've had the Drobo for probably, I think we're getting close to 5 years now. About a year ago, the fan died in it or started to die. So I did some research and found out it was something I could replace. It takes a very specific type of fan. So I replaced the fan and then learned out after I replaced the fan that even if you get a very specific fan, for whatever reason, it runs a little bit slower than the original fan that came with it. So that means the Drobo runs a little bit hotter. And for those that don't know, a Drobo is just like this big thing you put all these hard drives in. And it's a RAID system. So if one of the drives fails, you can pull it out, put it back in, and all the other drives have enough information to rebuild that one. So it's like safe. It's safe until the entire Drobo decides it's going to take a shit. So
then it's a hobo.
Then it is. It's a hobo. So my Drobo is starting to do some things. It overheated the other day because the new fan I put in runs quiet. I never know if the fan is running in it or not. So I just have to assume that it's running. So the other day, the Drobo fell asleep. Well, damn. I'm sorry we're so boring, Dwayne. No. So again, so my Drobo started overheating. It's overheated twice now in the past like 3 days. And I don't want to lose anything that's on the Drobo. The problem is a couple of things. Number one, I can't get a replacement Drobo. I just found out that I think in October, Drobo was bought out by another company. And they say that they're going to keep the product line alive. This company bought 2 storage solution companies. Drobo was one of them. And the company that bought them out said, we're going to keep those 2 as independent companies. It's going to be business as usual. We just own them now. Well, probably supply chain issues is my guess, or chip shortages, or both. For whatever reason, I can't find another Drobo. You can't buy them. They're all back ordered. And
they're still making them though, correct? They're just back ordered?
Well, according to the company that bought them out, yes, they should still be business as usual. You just can't find them.
Yeah, supply chain.
So I can't wait, because everything I've ever shot, like raw files, are all on the Drobo from 2007 to a couple days ago. And I know when I said that it holds like 5 drives in it, most people would probably think, well, just take those drives out and put them in something else. There's the other dilemma, is that with the Drobo, it uses like a proprietary system to manage the data that's on there. So if you pull them out, you can only put them in another Drobo. And when you put them in another Drobo, you have to put the drive from bay 1 into bay 1 on the new Drobo. Everything has to go in order. And you can only migrate from specific Drobos to specific Drobos.
So I got a question. So then what's the benefit of using a Drobo then if you got to go through all that hassle versus just say for having 5 externals?
So because if you have 5 externals, then how are you going to manage those 5? Would they be 5 individual drives?
Yeah,
that have
5
like
separate drives.
Is the same information on all 5 drives?
I don't know.
Or is it different information?
I personally wouldn't need 5 drives, but I mean, I don't know.
This is why you need 5 drives in a Drobo, or in what I've got to replace it. That's actually showing up tomorrow. The reason there's 5 drives is because what it does. So I've got 5 6 terabyte drives. Right. So you would think 5 times 6 is 30. I have 30 terabytes of storage. I don't have 30 terabytes. I have a bit less than 30. I've got like 24 terabytes, or something like that. Because some of it's reserved
stuff.
It's not system stuff. What it is it takes bits of information that's on all the other drives. It's shared among all the drives. And so what that means is that if one of those drives fails, or in this case on my thing, I could have 2 drives die. As long as I replace them with a drive that's the same size or bigger, there's enough information about what was on those 2 bad drives spread across the remaining 3 drives that it can rebuild those other 2 drives.
Gotcha.
So you've got like redundancy in there. So you could have,
it's basically backed up then, yeah.
It's backed up. It's exactly the reason that you'd use like a Drobo.
That makes sense, yeah, because then I wouldn't.
Yep. So my trouble is that I have to either get another Drobo if I want to just pull these drives out and stick them in, or if I get a different solution, I have to get that one, fill it with drives, transfer everything from my Drobo to that new thing, which is exactly what I'm doing. But the problem now is going to be the thing that I'm buying only has 4 bays. So I had to buy 4 8 terabyte drives so that I would have enough space. I have tons of extra space, I know, but I just have to have enough space so that I can move everything that's on the Drobo over this new thing. But I'm going to end up with 5 6 terabyte hard drives that I can't do anything with. I mean, I can do stuff with them. It's just now I'm going to have 30 terabytes of storage space that's not being used. It's just sitting somewhere. It's a shit show. It sucks. And I can't complain too much because the Drobo I got for free. Drobo gave me the drive.
Right. I remember
so I could do a giveaway. So I can't complain too much. But at the same time, it's one of the pitfalls of getting locked into like this proprietary system. You know, I mean, if you can only take your drives from one Drobo into another, you're kind of screwed if Drobo goes out of business, or in this case, if you can't find another Drobo. So I ended up going with a solution from a company called Otherworld Computing. They make a bunch of, they specialize in stuff for Macs. And I had an external hard drive enclosure of theirs years ago that was just amazing. So the one that I got coming now, instead of it being in the Drobo, there's basically like a little mini computer inside of it. And that's where the software runs that allows it to make this. It's called a RAID array. That's how it does all that, redundancy. So it's hardware RAID. So built into the Drobo hardware is the necessary technical. I don't even know how to word this. I'm trying to dumb this down. I don't want to fucking totally geek out here, but basically in order for the Drobo to function as a RAID, it's all done in hardware. The one I'm getting from OWC tomorrow, it's software RAID. So a little bit more control over how it functions. And I can choose what style of RAID I'm going to do. And I'm going to do, it's called RAID 5, which is the one that's going to give me the most amount of space and the fastest speeds while still being redundant. And there's different kinds of RAID. So there's RAID 0, which basically takes all your drives and makes them into one giant drive, which has no safety backup system in place because it's just one giant drive. And then you got other types of RAID. RAID 1. I don't know if there's a RAID 2, but anyways. So that's what I'm doing. Long story short, choose a system, understand how the system works, have a backup plan in place. I didn't have a backup plan in place. My backup plan was, if this Drobo dies, I'm just going to get another Drobo. I'll just have to, buy one. But now this one's taking a dump and I can't buy one. So moving forward, I'm going to have the plan in place that if this next thing fails and I can't get another one of those, I've already got another idea lined up for how to take care of this situation. And it's funny that we're going through this because Leandro in chat, he got a hold of me a month ago. He had a hard drive that was dying on him or died, and he was stressing out because he had no idea how he's going to get the data off it. And ironically enough, I think I even mentioned to him about getting a Drobo or using a Drobo. And, granted, it's failing, but I shouldn't complain because it's been running like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 5 years and only had really one issue, and that was the fan. And honestly, this overheating issue is probably that fan, to be honest with you. So Leandro said, you sure did. So I sure did recommend a Drobo. I would still recommend it if there weren't supply chain issues. It's been the easiest thing to manage and maintain.
Let me know when they get the supply chain issues fixed, because I need something.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, you can get products from other companies that are supposed to be fabulous. On Facebook, I had a few people recommend Synology. They do a very similar type of thing. I wanted what's called a DAS or DAS or desktop attached storage because it hooks straight into my computer. Synology specializes in a NAS or network attached storage, which is cool because everybody in your whole house has access to it that way really easily. The downside is the speeds aren't quite as fast. So the one that I'm getting that shows up tomorrow actually uses Thunderbolt 3, which is like the fastest USB-C, basically is what it is, connection that you can get. So it'll read and write data like super fast. But, again, for me, the only reason I'm even in a situation like this is at all is because I refuse to delete anything. I have the jankiest, nastiest old photos that you could ever imagine taking, but they're part of, where I started from. So
right.
I hate to
I just deleted 80K.
80,000 photos?
Yep.
Yeah. I can't do it.
I was running out of space. I only got a 2 terabyte drive. And I try not to store anything on my drive that's on my laptop. So I got a 2 terabyte external, but they were both almost full, so I had to get rid of some stuff. So I went through everything and got rid of the stuff I know I wasn't going to add it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, if I could just bring myself to start deleting some stuff, I wouldn't necessarily need something as big as this. But, hell, now that I moved and shoot primarily with Sony all the time, if I'm shooting with the R, that's 42 megapixels. those files are pretty big. If you go out and shoot, if I go out and shoot like a storm, or I shoot a time lapse, and I've got 2,042 megapixel images, and I'm not deleting them when I'm done, where I'm shooting video, which I don't do a whole lot of anymore, but I do sometimes still. So that storage kind of is important to me, but just as important is the ability for it to be safe in case of a failure.
Right.
Hence, a Drobo or this other thing that I'm getting tomorrow. Technology. All right. So we say we wrap it up. We've been gabbing for an hour.
Right.
Do you guys want to come on and do a show next Thursday?
Next Thursday. Bring a drink.
Yep. We're going to do, it's our early New Year's Eve show, I guess. We're going to do a show next Thursday night, last show of the year. I think if you're going to come on the show, you got to do a couple of things. You got to have something to drink, and it could be non-alcoholic. That's fine. Have a glass and bring 5 of your favorite photos that you're willing to share
from 2021.
2021. Yep, your 5 favorite. And when I do the announcement for the show, I'll actually include the link on how to join the show on that right there. So it's going to be, hopefully it's not mayhem, but it'll be open to anyone who wants to come on the show. We'd love to have you on. We'd love to see what everybody has to share from their favorite photos of 2021.
For sure.
Next Thursday. That is correct. And I'm not sure what the 20 is, but next Thursday at 8 p.m.
Right.
Merry Christmas. Why can I not talk tonight? I swear to God, dude, there's hardly any the fuck am I drinking again? Dude, I am so out of it tonight. What did I say I was drinking? Rum. There's hardly any rum in this glass, and I'm like slurring my words. I'm like, Merry Christmas, Dwayne. I can't even talk. Good Lord. I'm going out with a bang.
Wait till next week.
God,
he'll be crawling around in the background.
Yeah, that'll be a good way to end 2021. So anyways, you guys, next Thursday, 8 p.m. If you want to join the show, again, look for the link in the little social media blast that goes out next week for the show. And all you're going to need is a microphone, a webcam, a drink.
You can even use your cell phone.
Yeah. Okay. If you're not going to bring photos to share, you could use your cell phone. I don't know if you can do a photo share from your phone.
I don't know. I've never tried it.
I don't know either.
I know you can come on the show though.
Yeah, you definitely can do that.
Right.
So, all right, I've talked enough. I've slurred enough. I've messed up my speech numerous times. It's time to wrap up this show. So thanks for tuning in.
See you next week.
Hey, Jerry, can you hit the end broadcast button?
I got this. See you guys next week. Peace. That would have been smooth if I didn't have to look for the button because I didn't know where it was at.
I do it every week, man.